All right. So, all right. So I'm finally getting to a point in my life where I understand that. Yeah, I actually need to watch that video again. Just something just came to mind, but uh, that no, you will not exceed any level of success, or every success that you have will be temporary until your self-image changes. And I had to realize that in the last couple of days that I had really gravitated this towards this ideal of identity. And then when I heard it again in different wording, it was called self-image. And it clicked, and what Spirit told me was, there will be, every success that you have will be temporary until you change your self-image. And coming from this understanding, I just posted a video about why women fail when it comes to social media, because of lack of self-image. No matter how much money they make, because the internal thermostat is so low that when they hit a level of success, meaning even on the monetary level, when the success demands more of them, they crush because of their poor self-image. So I had to come to this thorough understanding that your success will never truly succeed your self-image, because success is the governor of self-image is the governor of your life. Also, in the words of Dan Locke, success is the most important, the strongest part of your personality is your self-image. And I like that wording because it's true. He said it's true. He said just like Emmett, what's his name? Ed Milet said about weight. If you lose a lot of weight in some time, if your self-image does not change, you will go back to the weight you once were. And even like when I was watching this video with Bob Proctor a couple months ago, I'll never forget it. I had lack of money at the time, and I was always compromising getting a haircut because my hair was ridiculous. And he said, start with the change of self-image with getting a haircut, looking sharp via face. And I started to understand what that means, because he was talking about the self-image. Because when you look in the mirror and your hair in the physical, your hair looks a mess, and that doesn't mean you have to have some fancy, whatever. But if you could at least do yourself a favor of cutting your own hair to make it look presentable, then you can show up to the world in a certain way because of the self-image. And he said one of the ways I took notes on his class. He said self-image is changed by first fantasizing or coming up with a theory. And he said you have to, or theory or idea, and you have to come up with this idea that you constantly are seeing in your mind. And he said you have to, second, he was like, you have to get an idea. You have to get out, second, he said, get the idea of you can't do it out of your mind, because anything that you put your mind to is possible. And on the darkest scale, people kill people because they don't want the powers that be kill people because they don't want them to change their self-image. Because when you, like for the black man, when a black man is to rise because his self-image has changed, and he teaches other black men to change their self-image. Sorry, I just got a message. Sorry. When you teach other black men to change their self-image, that becomes the problem. One of the reasons why these corporations are being quite racist with images, because it's all about the image of them in the mind. Like this guy who wore a dress. I saw Jessie Wu say, what's the problem with him wearing a dress? Now, I know that she's controlled and all that other shit, but I'm not even going to call her out of her name. She doesn't understand, and she's being programmed like many women are, and don't understand the power of self-image. If you see on the grandest stage of them all, where a lot of black people are looking, and they see a black man in a dress, it's not about him being gay or him wearing a dress. It's about the programming that they want to suggest in your mind, like they do all of the time, like on TV, like in your cartoons, etc., etc. Like even in Dragon Ball Z. Why is the main superhero white, not black? Why is Mr. Bobo look like a black face? It's about self-image or that programming, because your subconscious mind's greatest translator outside of feeling is image. So if the image provokes a certain feeling of inadequacy, of messing up your sexuality or your chi, meaning you can mix with the feminine and the masculine, you can really come to the understanding of when this man is wearing a dress, he changes the self-image of the black man. So when the black man wakes up on the grandest stage of them all, and he says that I have to wear a dress, quote unquote a dress, or a feminine aspect to be successful, that's why all these celebrities have had the ritual of wearing a dress. It is to defeminize the black male. They want to control the self-image. So that's why Malcolm X had to die, because he was a alpha male. He was a teacher of self-image. He taught the man to have, because he was a Taurus, he taught the man to have, be, and do what black men can be. Now, he had his flaws, but he taught people so that you can change your self-image, because that's actually his story. He changed his self-image. He was in jail. He changed his self-image, and he became Malcolm X. So he came from, what his original name was. Whatever his original name was, Malcolm Little, I think, to Malcolm X, or whatever his first name was. So that is literally the transmutation of self-image. So because if he can train a man to go from, despite the fact that he used Nation of Islam, which is a whole bunch of hoax and bullshit. But anyway, one of the greatest things that the Nation of Islam can produce or does produce is the self-image. Because if you can get a man to go from sagging his pants to being button-up suit and tie, being presentable, giving knowledge, that's a change of self-image. Now, because, I would get into not even conspiracy theories, but real intuitive understanding that he had to die because he was going to change on a serious level the image of the black man or the black woman, to actually be doing something, not just teaching them, not just preaching to them, not just telling them that they have to do this and they have to do that. He was gathering people of who had a self-image, and kind of like Marcus Garvey, or a self-collective consciousness, so we can go buy real estate, buy land, instead of telling us and hypnotizing us like Louis Farrakhan is doing. In many regards, he hypnotizes people because he is also a Taurus. But in the same regard, in the same image of hypnotizing, he is also outcasted, because similarly, he does change the self-image. So, 3, The question is, are you willing now? So because Malcolm X, for instance, was willing to die for what he believed in, because if you do the research, many people from the Nation of Islam try to get him killed because of the self-image he tainted and he created, and also he spilled out of the self-image of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, if you really do know power structure, when you taint the self-image of the master, you must go. So, and that's 48 laws of power. Don't outshine the master. So when you start to one of the rules that he broke was when you started to outshine the master, you must be eliminated for the sake of self-image, because you must have the self-image of saying, yo, the honorable Elijah Muhammad being blah 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 for the black community. So, for instance, one of the deepest reasons Martin Luther King's wife and Malcolm X's wife stayed by their side after they had infidelity is for the self-image of their legacy, because she probably didn't even marry after, probably not, out of respect for being Malcolm X's wife or Martin Luther King's wife, and having that image of legacy and understanding. So after when you want to change self-image, the only question after you eliminate the fact that you can't do something, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to take your idea, your fantasy, your thought, and make it a reality? And many of us break this willingness, break because we aren't willing to do what it takes. Kind of like when Wayne Dyer said, the only reason why you fail, when you fail at something, you have to ask yourself, what were you not willing to do? And that is your answer now. That's what you got to go do now. And then like Bob Proctor would say, you must firmly plant it in your subconscious mind, because like I said before with Malcolm X and being killed, he firmly was implanted in his subconscious mind that you can transform. And not just transform to talk, but transform to do. But because of the fact that, like I said, those who laugh first laugh last. Those who laugh first do not always laugh last. Or those who laugh at you first do not laugh last. You laugh last. You always have the last laugh. Malcolm X, quote, and his family, knowing what really happened, will have the last laugh, because Farrakhan is going in that same direction. And I don't mean assassination, hopefully, but in the sense of what he's pushing people to do. He's not pushing people to talk anymore, because he's growing old. He's pushing people to do now. So, but at the same time, that's a topic for another time, because him and others are still just like only lecturing, not really like building shit. But anyway, outside of that, and then last but not least, learning the law of repetition. So one of the reasons why not just Louis Farrakhan, but Marcus Garvey, who else? One of my favorites. My favorite is Marcus Garvey, Toussaint Louverture, etc., etc. They had a pattern of self-repetition to do over and over and over and over and over again to become a success, because you must embed it in your subconscious mind that you are this. And what I learned throughout the day is like how Ed Mylett said it. Your self-image is like a thermostat. He said, like, if this room, for instance, this room that I'm in, can get extremely cold at times, despite the weather outside, because of the cold air, etc., etc. So if the thermostat says it is 75 degrees in here, no matter how hot, if the cold air comes in, if I turn it back on, it will heat the room back up to the 75 degrees, especially dictated to what I want it to be. And vice versa, whether it be cold or hot air, it will cool the room back down to the degree I desire it to be at. And that's the same thing that you have to check throughout the day and that's what Spirit told me this morning. Who were you acting as throughout your day? Like, for instance, they said, I was thinking to myself, are you thinking as the millionaire you, or are you thinking as the homeless you, or the beginner, not even homeless you, but beginner entrepreneur you? You know what I'm saying? Because their self-images are totally different. And like I said earlier in the video, if you don't change your self-image, your success will be temporary. And that means if you don't change who you think you are, you will never, ever, ever become successful for a long time. And I believe me, that's the truth, because I've seen that over and over and over again. That your success will fail because your character can't sustain the many adaptations of the times, kind of like Payless or Blockbuster. Their self-image of the company never changed. So when the times changed of being digital, etc., they were bankrupt because the self-image did not change. So I tell you this as I learn and walk in this, that my next step in my journey is completely changing and at a very aggressive, obsessive level, my identity and who I think I am. And more importantly, really, in my journey for me personally, it's not even about changing it, but really accepting who I am at its fullness, out of its core, and eliminating all energy that is not my own. And I think that's one of the first steps of changing your self-image. You must know what is true and what is false. Because one of the reasons why we have so many people telling the facts, because they're trying to help you change your self-image. How are you going to do that? How are you going about that? Doing that? For me, what do you mean? The last part? Which part are you talking about? Deciphering what's true and false. Well, from what I'm getting, but by going by the third point of what I said, you must eliminate the idea that anything in your life, anything that you truly, that's kind of like some of the whole video here, but I would say the strongest idea outside of knowing anything is possible is you must, in my opinion, know what is true and what is false. What is subjectively and objectively true. And what that means is, I can build an 8-figure business online. Why is that true? Google it. How do you create a 8-figure business online? You will see multiple images. That's what I'm saying. You will see multiple images, self-images of people creating 8-figure businesses from Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. So that eliminates the hope of the fact that it can be done, because now you see the self-image. Like, for instance, whatever business I join, my spirit always tells me, go look for the proof. Meaning, go look at it every single day of images of people making sales, and keep looking at them, even if that means putting it as a screensaver on your phone, printing it out, whatever. And then second, for me, that eliminates saying that it's possible. Second, you must, especially from your environment, the people you've hanged around, your parents, your friends, all of that, you must understand what is true and what is false. Let me give you an example. My father told me that it is I didn't have the character to build a network marketing company. That is false, because I do have the character to build a network marketing company. It must be developed. And more importantly, this important factor is what must happen. Because when you tell somebody you can't do something, it's because it's two things. You're projecting your self-image, and you're trying to create a self-image that is false. Because I do have the ability to build a network marketing company, because I built my own network marketing company. Because a social media agency is a network marketing company. If you break the words down, I network, and then I recruit them, and then I market their business. So it is false that I don't have the character to build a network marketing company, because, like, again, I network, I market it to them, and then I sell them on my services. And the parent to both of those things is persuasion. So persuasion is the parent to sales and marketing. So, and last but not least, with the hidden word in self-image is obsession. So you must find something that will change your identity, who you think you are, and kind of be so uncomfortable. And like I've understood about identity and self-image, you must do something that makes you uncomfortable. And even if that's a little bit every day, where where you've never done it before, because if you don't do something that's uncomfortable, you never change the image. So, for instance, back to the dress, or the guy with the dress in Hollywood. When you keep seeing that, you're making it normal. So you may think it's not about, oh, the black man this and bloop, 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 bloop. It is, because you're making the black man aware that it is normal to wear a dress, and it is not. So, but when you're not understanding that, you just think it's just Hollywood. But I don't want to get too deep into the occult, because Holly weird is a lot of things. Anyway, when you look at a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, I think he talks well about, because I need to read that actually myself, talking about self-image. You can research Bob Proctor talking about self-image, Earl Nightingale talking about self-image, but you must constantly visualize who you are, who you want to be. But I would leave with this, and I'm post this on YouTube. But you are not what you do, but who you are says a lot about what you are not what you do, but what you do says a lot about who you are. And what that means is, let me say it again, you are not what you do, but what you do says a lot about who you are. And what that means is, let's say I'm an internet marketer. That's not who I am, because there are hundreds of thousands of internet marketers. But the results I produce says a lot about who I am, not only for myself, but for others. If none of my clients are successful, that says a lot about me. If I'm successful, that says a lot about me, because it's about positive and negative energy. Because getting positive results and negative results says a lot about the energy you withhold. So when you have negative results, that's because you're probably negative thinking, negative habits, or negative meaning habits that don't serve you. They both must coexist. But if you have more negative energy than you do positive energy, that says a lot about who you are based on the results that you're bringing to the table. So, YouTube. So you must change the self-image of who you think you are. That's why Dr. Miles Monroe says, you are not marrying what I do, you are marrying who I am. You are not marrying what you do, you are marrying who I am. So, because what I do can change, who I am can also change, but who I am will last us the test of time. So, that's why it's important to change your self-image.
Mm-hmm.